You know when something in your body just feels off, but you don't know exactly what it is? Sometimes it's a strange tiredness, a constant fatigue, swelling that appears out of nowhere, that foamy urine, or even that lower back pain on the right or left side that you swear is just your posture. Most people have no idea, but many of these signs can come from your kidneys. And the curious thing is, they're masters at giving silent warnings. It's like your body is speaking, but we don't understand the language. But in the end, why does this matter? Because most silent kidney problems start discreetly, almost invisibly, while the kidney becomes overloaded without you even realizing it. And this doesn't necessarily have anything to do with a serious illness. Sometimes it's just fluid retention, high blood pressure getting out of control, altered kidney function from daily habits, not enough water, daily choices that add up, and the body trying to warn you in its own way. The sooner you identify the signs your body gives, the easier it is to avoid something bigger down the road. And today, I'm going to show you exactly 9 silent signs that can indicate your kidneys aren't doing well. Signs that almost no one notices, but that can completely change the way you understand your own health. And there's one of them, near the end, that many people confuse with a skin issue, but it's actually a classic indicator of toxin retention. So stick with me until the end because this final part is a real eye opener. First sign, the kidneys are two small command centers that we almost never think about, but they work for us all the time. Each kidney has on average 1 million glomeruli, which are super precise microfilters. They filter the blood all day long, removing toxins, balancing water and mineral salts, participating in blood pressure control, and they even produce important hormones like erythropoietin, which stimulates the production of red blood cells. It's such a complex job that when something deviates from the norm, the body tries to warn you in a very subtle way. And that's precisely why changes in your urine are one of the first signs that something might be going on. If you start to notice dark urine, foamy urine, or a strong odor, it could be much more than simple dehydration. Sometimes it's an indication that the kidney is overloaded, that the glomeruli aren't filtering as they should, and that proteins are passing into the urine, something we call proteinuria. This is a discreet but extremely relevant warning. Your urine also gives clues when it changes color for no reason, becomes cloudy, orange, or more concentrated, even with good hydration. This can indicate anything from changes in kidney function to the first signs of a kidney problem that many people ignore. And the most curious part is that these changes don't hurt, they don't disrupt your daily life, and that's why they end up going unnoticed. And look, the next sign is even more common, and a lot of people confuse it with a back problem. Second sign, lower back pain that doesn't seem to come from the spot. Lower back pain is so common that almost everyone blames it on their posture, their workout, or their mattress. But there's a specific pain, usually on just one side, that can originate in the kidneys and not in the muscles. This pain is usually deeper, more persistent, and doesn't really improve with stretching or massage. It's that lower back pain on the right or left side that you feel deep inside, as if it's closer to your ribs than to your muscles. And this happens when the kidneys are overloaded, inflamed, or experiencing some kind of imbalance. They can send this signal indirectly. Unlike muscle pain, this kidney pain doesn't usually have a trigger point. It doesn't get worse when you press on it, and it doesn't follow the typical pattern of a muscle contracture. Sometimes it's accompanied by constant fatigue, fluid retention, or changes in your urine, but not always. And it's precisely because it's silent that many people ignore it. A detail that almost no one mentions is that kidney pain can get slightly worse when the person moves or experiences impact, but it doesn't follow a clear logic. It's the kind of pain that comes and goes, seems like nothing, but lasts for weeks. And when it appears along with changes in your urine or a feeling of swelling, it's worth investigating. That's because the next sign is also very underestimated and can indicate that your body is retaining more water than it should. Third sign, swelling in the legs, ankles, and face. Swelling is one of those signs that people always try to justify. I think it's the heat. I must have eaten something salty. I slept poorly. I'm retaining fluid. But when the swelling appears more frequently, especially in the ankles, feet, or even the face, it can indicate that the kidneys aren't filtering water properly. This is because they're responsible for balancing the volume of fluids in the body. So, when kidney function starts to decline, this water ends up staying where it shouldn't. This type of swelling is different from occasional swelling. It tends to be more persistent and leaves a mark when you press on it. This is the famous pitting edema, and it usually gets worse throughout the day. When the kidney is overloaded, it can't eliminate excess fluids and salts. This creates that silent buildup that accumulates slowly. This is one of the signs that go unnoticed because people think it's just fatigue or poor circulation. And the most interesting detail is that this swelling can be accompanied by constant fatigue, foamy urine, and a feeling of heaviness in the legs, a slight difficulty putting on shoes at the end of the day. Nothing glaring, nothing alarming. That's exactly why people take months to seek help. And the next sign is even more subtle, a warning that appears on the skin, and few people imagine it's related to the kidneys. Fourth sign, itchy skin with no apparent cause. Itching is such a common symptom that almost no one takes it seriously, but when it appears without an allergy, without dermatitis, without an insect bite, and with no obvious cause, it can be one of the silent signs from the kidneys. This happens because when kidney function starts to decline, the body can build up substances that should be eliminated through urine. This retention of toxins irritates the skin and makes it more sensitive and prone to itching. This itching has a curious pattern. It tends to be widespread without a specific spot and appears mainly at night. The person uses moisturizer, changes their soap, changes their bed sheets, and nothing helps. It's a symptom that's bothersome, but doesn't hurt. So often, the person lives with it for months. And get this, it's not always accompanied by rashes or redness. It's precisely because it's discreet that it fits in with silent kidney problems. And it can also come with dry skin, a feeling of discomfort, and that slight tingling, as if the body were irritated from the inside. And the next sign also appears in daily life, and most people blame stress. Fifth sign, fatigue that doesn't go away, even with good sleep. Fatigue is probably the most universal symptom in the world. Everyone feels it. But when constant fatigue appears even with good sleep, without a heavy routine, and with no clear explanation, it can be linked to kidney function. That's because the kidneys produce erythropoietin, which is the hormone that stimulates the formation of red blood cells, which are responsible for carrying oxygen in the body. And when the kidneys aren't well, this hormone level drops, and you feel it in your energy. This type of fatigue is different from the kind you get after a busy week. It's a fatigue that appears right when you wake up, makes you lose strength during the day, and gives you that low battery feeling, even with simple tasks. And you don't always associate it with the kidneys. After all, it seems more psychological than physical. Fatigue from early kidney disease also tends to be accompanied by difficulty concentrating, slight shortness of breath with exertion, and even occasional dizziness. And when this fatigue appears along with dark urine, swelling, or unregulated high blood pressure, the sign becomes even stronger. And speaking of pressure, that's precisely the next silent sign we need to discuss. Sixth sign, high blood pressure that appears out of nowhere. High blood pressure is one of those signs that many people only discover by chance at the orthopedist, the ophthalmologist, or at a pharmacy. But few people know the kidneys are responsible for regulating much of our blood pressure, controlling fluid volume, and releasing hormones that adjust the function of our blood vessels. And when the kidneys start to lose efficiency, even slightly, blood pressure can rise silently and persistently. Kidney related blood pressure has a curious behavior. It's not the kind that spikes due to anxiety, nor is it the kind that only rises during moments of stress. It's a pressure that remains higher throughout the day, even when you're calm. And often, people think it's hereditary, emotional, or blame it on too much coffee, when in fact, it's one of the signs from the kidneys trying to warn that something has changed in their renal function. This high blood pressure is often accompanied by altered urine, swelling, fatigue, or even lower back pain, but not always. Sometimes it's a one off sign, and that's the most dangerous part. Since it doesn't hurt, the person lives with it for months, thinking everything is fine. But high blood pressure isn't just a consequence. It can also worsen silent kidney problems, creating a negative cycle. And there's another sign that completes this puzzle, and many people never imagine it's related to the kidneys. Seventh sign, changes in appetite and taste. This is one of the most curious and most ignored signs. When the kidneys begin to filter less efficiently, certain substances that should be eliminated end up accumulating in the blood. And this can alter the sense of taste. leaving food with a metallic taste, a constant bitter sensation, or that lack of appetite that appears for no reason. This is one of those symptoms that the kidneys can produce, but few people immediately connect it to kidney function. The interesting thing is that these changes don't need to be intense to be relevant. Sometimes it's just a slight loss of appetite. Meals that used to be enjoyable now seem heavy, or that strange taste that keeps appearing even with good oral hygiene. Many people also describe mild stomach discomfort, slight nausea, especially at the end of the day. Symptoms that often go unnoticed, such as stress, anxiety, or something I ate that was wrong. Eighth sign, swelling of the eyelids upon waking. You know, when you wake up, look in the mirror, and realize your eyes are more puffy than they should be? This happens to a lot of people and is usually attributed to a bad night's sleep, allergies, or even fluid retention due to crying. But bilateral eyelid edema first thing in the morning is a classic sign that the kidneys may be filtering less effectively. Since we spend hours lying down, the fluid that should be eliminated tends to accumulate in softer areas, and the eyelids are the first to show this. Interestingly, this swelling usually improves throughout the day. When a person stands up and moves around, gravity redistributes the fluids. And it is precisely this improvement that is deceiving. People think it's something temporary, when in fact it's one of the signs of the kidneys functioning more slowly, especially in the initial phase of altered kidney function. And if you frequently wake up with a puffier face, the next sign may complete the puzzle. Ninth sign, getting up several times at night to urinate. Getting up once to urinate might be normal for some people, but when it becomes routine, two, three, four times a night, the body is sending a warning. One of the causes of nocturia is when the kidneys begin to lose their ability to concentrate urine. In other words, the kidney starts producing more urine during the night than it should, and the person, without knowing it, thinks that this is sensitivity to water or a reflection of age. This pattern of waking up multiple times, fragmenting sleep, increases fatigue and creates that feeling of I didn't get any rest, even after sleeping enough hours. This is an extremely common symptom, but it's rarely associated with kidney function in everyday life. Many people blame stress, coffee, cold weather, or anxiety, when in practice, these can be major indicators of kidney problems or an overloaded kidney. Nocturia is also easily associated with unregulated high blood pressure, since blood pressure and the kidneys go hand in hand, and it often appears alongside other silent signs swelling, changes in urine, constant fatigue, or waking up with a swollen face. It's simple, but extremely revealing. And now that you've seen all nine signs, we come to the most important point: what to do when you recognize one of these symptoms. If you've noticed one of these signs in your daily life, or especially if you've identified with two, three, or more, this isn't a reason to panic, but it's a clear sign that something in your body is asking for attention. Most silent kidney problems start discreetly, with symptoms that seem simple, but that say a lot about your kidney function. And the sooner you listen to these warnings, the easier it is to act before something progresses. The ideal thing is to seek a professional evaluation, get basic tests like creatinine, urea, and a routine urinalysis, and review your hydration, diet, and lifestyle habits. Small adjustments can make a huge difference in kidney health and can prevent a lot of trouble in the future. If this video helped you in any way, go ahead and subscribe to the channel and leave a like down below. It helps me so much to get this content to more people.